Okay, so I've left this open with our search for very. Um, this final section, I'm not going to show you any more tools, it's just a little conclusion. We have had a brief look at the various tools in Anconk, how to open Anconk, how to load files, how to do various things with them, but only quickly. This is just to give you an example because some students say they're lost. I wanted to do this directly between you and me. There's so much more that you can do. We haven't, for example, looked at case sensitivity. As we saw when we're looking in collocates or word lists, capital I and lowercase I, they're considered together. I'm sure you're capable of working out how to use that if you go into the Conc settings, tool preferences. You have things, for example, here, treat case in sort or treat all data as lowercase. Play around with it, see what happens. We haven't looked at the use of tagged corpora. For example, is it use as a noun or use as a verb? There are ways you can do that. You can tag your corpus for part of speech. We haven't looked at regular expressions, which are ways you can do much more complex searches. Probably too complex for what we need in this course. If you're at ease with computers and software, experiment with that. But play around, see for yourself. You can go as far as you like, but don't get out of your depth. There are advantages to doing a simple paper that's well conducted, but I have to admit that I do like to see a slightly more ambitious project from students who are capable of taking a bit of initiative and pushing themselves further. If you want to experiment more, there are two keys to success. The first one I would say is to look at Lawrence Anthony's video tutorials. I showed you those on his website at Anconk. Okay, do watch those tutorials, but be interactive. Don't just watch them. Do the same things at the same time. The second key to success is to play with it. Don't just be told, find out. You're learning by experimenting. And this is, I think, really important in this course, is it does give you the chance to do something hands-on and to come to your own conclusions on your own data. So those are two keys to success. Actually, there are many more keys to success than that. In particular, choose a topic that interests you. That's very important. If you're not interested, you won't be interested in doing the searches, thinking of questions, and you won't be able to write an paper which interests you, and it won't interest me. So do choose a topic you're interested in. Build a corpus that can answer the questions which you have. Make sure that your corpus is principled. It's not just a few texts you happen to have gathered here and there. And then when you look for a group of words or a set of words or set of items, your queries, that you have reasons for conducting those queries. So in fact, there are quite a lot of keys for success. So do please feel free to carry on investigating this corpus as a way of discovering the power of corpus linguistics and what you can do with a tool like Anconk. Think of other questions that you could ask. For example, because we're dealing here with personal feedback from students in previous years, are they mainly positive or negative? How could you find that out? Maybe you have a kind of example here by using very. What are the things they find very? Or really? Do most texts give advantages or disadvantages? Are the adjectives mostly positive or negative? If they talk about advantages and disadvantages or positive and negative things, do they talk about positive before negative or negative before positive? Do they say negative things and say but, however, nevertheless, and then give negative things, or the other way around? What about modal verbs? Because some students are talking about what they would like to do in the future, what they might have done in the past. So you could use modal verbs and see what that tells you. For example, just looking at might. Oops, I spelt it wrong. If you spell it wrong, you won't get the answers. And of course, some students spell things wrong in their text. I haven't changed anything. But maybe if you compare might, would, could, etc., how often do these might have? Things they could have done differently. What about first person I? How is that used? When people talk about I, what are they really saying in the first person? Okay, you can do this. You might look at clusters with I and so on. This is when it's, let's have it on the right. Oops, let's forget that. Okay, so carry on experimenting with this kind of thing. What about intensifiers as a class, so very and really? What about adjectives as a class? What about hyphenated words? What about clusters of a particular size to identify plagiarism or recurring themes? What about those words that are significantly more frequent than in the B and C? Why are they so? Or you compare to the first year to the last year, as I said, or you could compare feedback from high scoring students to feedback from low scoring students if you knew the marks. Now, obviously, for ethical reasons, I'm not going to tell you the marks which these students got, but there may be other comparisons which you can do when you do have your own personal corpus. Now, the final thing I want to say about Anconc is that the things I've shown you here are only to show you the mechanics of it, how it works. Because students do sometimes spend quite a lot of time discovering how it works, they don't always watch the Anconc videos on YouTube, so giving you a video here I hope will help with that. But please do not take what I've shown you here as an example of the procedures to do in your RP. You won't need to use all of the tools. You won't need to go through these procedures in this order. It's up to you. It depends on your corpus. It depends on your question. Your corpus must reflect the questions that you have, and your questions must be appropriate for the corpus. The tools you use will depend on your corpus and your questions. Sometimes it might be useful to be fairly focused. You might not want to have a word list tool or keyword list tools. You might only be interested in one word in your corpus. How is this word used in your corpus? Or a group of words. If you have a group of words, make sure that group of words is based on one or more objective criteria. They're not just things which happen to have caught your eye. Okay, so don't think that your research paper should just do the same things as I've done here, but with your corpus. That's not the point. This is just to show you how it works. You need to choose the tools and the particular types of searches for the questions that you have. Okay, well, I hope that helps. It's the first time I've done it like this. I'm hoping that'll solve a problem which has been recurrent for the last couple of years. And good luck with the course.